Which state has the smallest soft drinks? Minnesota. Hey, shh. Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane, and this is Kelsey. She's my wife.
Ah, yeah. I didn't like that. You can take that out.
Nope, staying.
No, it's gotta go.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah?
What's the story of 1996's Fargo?
A guy named Jerry hires two people to kidnap his wife for money that he needs for something.
Is it a true story?
No.
No, it's not.
It's inspired by true events, which we'll get to.
It opens up with, "This is a true story," and so I looked into it, and in an interview with the Huffington Post, the Coen brothers set the record straight on what in Fargo is real and what isn't. Ethan Coen first explained why they added the true story disclaimer to the film, saying, "We wanted to make a movie just in the genre of a true story movie. You don't have to have a true story to make a true story movie."
I think it was kind of making fun. Yeah.
You do have to have a true story to make a true story movie.
I agree. I will say I also looked into it because this goes well into my sequel later. This was inspired by pieces of different true events that happened, but just the ideas, not the actual...
I mean, I read that. They were like, there was a guy faking license plates at a car dealership, and there was a guy who hired someone to kidnap his wife. Like, two separate cases. Like, okay, what fucking, you're just throwing together any crime?
Also, the infamous wood chipper scene, which is the most notable, was an actual murder from a different guy who murdered his wife.
I just think if we're just throwing together any random crime, let's just continue. I was just very upset to read that their reasoning was, we felt like it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so, yeah, the movie starts off with a guy, Jerry, driving into a town called Fargo where he meets Carl and Gare. They are sitting at a table just waiting to talk to him. Gare's just fucking sitting there half dead. And it turns out, later on, you find out Gare's like the one that Jerry was kind of supposed to meet. So I think it's kind of fucked up. He's sitting there pretty quiet, and they have Carl doing most of the talking, which Carl's played by Steve Buscemi. You can kind of imagine what that's like. I thought that scene is just so funny to me, the way that he's like telling him the plan. You're going to kidnap my wife because she's wealthy. Well, her father-in-law is wealthy. And so then you're going to ask for a ransom. He's going to pay the ransom. I'm going to keep half of it. You're going to get the other half. Because Jerry's in some kind of trouble. They never quite get into the specifics of what the trouble is.
Yeah, I did write down I wanted to know what he needed the money for. But also, Jerry talking to them makes no sense. The way that he's talking to him, and are they just two random people that he found? Are they hitmen? Because it kind of seemed that, which later you meet Shep Proudfoot, just knew a guy that would do some stuff.
Yeah, he basically contacted him through a guy that works in his shop, and I guess you can tell through working with him that he knew some shady people. And so it's just like a guy who knows a guy, and they ended up here. And they didn't understand the plan because they're like, well, why would you have us do that? And he says, like, why don't you just ask your wife? And Carl, like, repeats it. Yeah, why don't you just ask your fucking wife, Jerry?
Yeah, something else that that was a funny
Yeah.
That was a good line. Something else that I thought was weird was at the beginning, and it's like, this is a true story, blah, 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 taking place in Minnesota, but the movie opens in Fargo, North Dakota, where Jerry met Carl and Gere. However, that's the only mention of Fargo. Yeah. And why is it called Fargo?
Well, so I was going to save this for the end of the movie, like this piece of trivia, but it's a good time to bring it up now. It says, even though the movie takes place mostly in Brainerd, Minnesota, the Coen brothers decided to call it Fargo, which is in North Dakota, just because they liked the sound of it for a title better than Brainerd, which was not cool enough. Fargo's just where Jerry meets two criminals he hires to kidnap his wife. So, very similar to the why we put a true story. We felt like it.
And the thing is the wife was kidnapped in Minneapolis, and then all of the murders occur in Brainerd.
Well, yeah, I mean...
It's so confusing. It doesn't make any sense.
I think it is, like, I'm talking shit, but it's a cool sounding title, especially not ever hearing of the city. It just sounds, I don't know, mysterious. It's short, simple. Brainerd, that sounds gross.
Yeah.
Brainerd. I don't like it.
Brainerd, yeah. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I was just curious why the title was that, which you explained it, so thank you. And then back to, it doesn't exactly explain what he needed the money for.
So after Carl and Gare agree, you see Jerry's just fucking life, and he's his kid at home, his wife, and his father-in-law Wade is over there having dinner, and you can see the relationship that he has with Wade. They don't get along, and he's trying to tell Wade about this proposal to buy a parking lot or something. I didn't really understand where exactly he was making the money, if he's just selling spots to park, that kind of thing. Wade doesn't want to do it. Wade's like, talk to my guy Stan. And he's like, yeah, Stan's going to tell me no. I'm asking you. I just really want to make sure we have money for, my wife and kid. And Wade's like, oh, they'll always be taken care of. They don't have to worry. Like, very specifically being like, I don't give a fuck about you, Jerry. Like, you...
Listen, I realize that you're on Wade's side in this entire conversation. Or not on Wade's side, you're on Jerry's side. However, I'm not. I'm on Wade's side.
My thing is that Wade acts like he's such a fucking man. He's a great businessman. Then have the balls to look into this yourself and tell your son-in-law no. And it doesn't seem like they're newly married. You've known this motherfucker forever. Just tell him no. Why are you like, I'll think about it? And then when he brings it up, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, grow up. I just don't like Wade's attitude about his money.
Well, maybe he knew Jerry was a little conniving snake, which he is a conniving snake.
You could even say that. Jerry, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not going to do this. Point is I don't like the way Wade goes about it. I don't think Jerry's a good person either. He's gotten into such a situation under his family's nose that's requiring these extreme fucking problems. So Wade eventually ends up calling Jerry back, and this is during another time where you just see Jerry's life. He works at a car dealership. He fucking is like getting yelled at the car dealership. Like, he's just got a shitty life, but he's also like just a shitty guy. Mm-hmm. And Wade calls him and is like, hey, Stan looked over your proposal. I'm thinking we're gonna do it. So that's like gonna solve fucking Jerry's problems. He doesn't need the kidnapping to happen anymore. So he tries to get a hold of the kidnappers. He can't. So he goes to this guy, Shep, that works in the shop at the dealership. Shep is a guy that is on parole for, I don't really know the specifics, but, he knows some people, and that's how he got in contact, again, with Carl and Gare, like we said. And Shep is like, I don't know Carl. I don't vouch for him. I vouch for Gare. Can't contact him. I don't have a different number for him. The same ideal. Get out of here. And I guess there was nothing Jerry could do, but he really is just like, well, okay. Like, I guess she's gonna get kidnapped.
Yeah, which she's getting then it goes to Carl and Gare driving.
Yes, and which I do want to say also, maybe get your wife out of the house. You don't want it to happen anymore? Tell your wife, like, hey, let's go out for lunch. But anyway, you see Carl and Gare heading to this job, and Gare's just sitting in complete silence, and Carl's fucking bitching about it. He's like,
I don't need to talk, you're right. We could just sit in utter silence or whatever he says. Yeah,
I'm doing all the driving, man. Least you could do is give me some conversation. And Gare's like, I said yeah, or whatever. He's like, yeah, aren't you a fucking fountain of conversation?
Yeah. And then they decide to stop and because old boy wants pancakes.
Yeah, Gare's like, we're stopping at Pancake House. And he's like, what are you talking about? We just ate. He's like, I like having pancakes.
Yeah, and he's like, we just ate pancakes for breakfast. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, how about we stop off at Pancake House and then I know a place where we can get laid.
Yeah.
And so they agree. I do want to make a comment about the hooker scene. First off, they only get one room with 2 separate beds, and they're both having sex with the hookers. However, Steve Buscemi, Carl, keeps looking and watching Gare.
Maybe he's looking at the girl.
He had a girl on top of him.
I mean...
It doesn't matter. He kept staring at him. The whole thing is just weird. Which is fine. Whatever. I mean, to each their own. But why does he keep watching him?
So Carl and Gare get to fucking wherever, and they kidnap Jean. I thought it was weird that Jean, by the way, is Jerry's wife. She's knitting at home, and she sees Carl and Gare coming up to the house in their mask, and she's just watching them as they look through the window.
I think she was just in shock.
Dog, get your ass up and move.
Listen, she did. She won that fight.
She got up once they were breaking in the window. You gotta move before that. Either way, she fights them off. The only reason she gets caught is because she tricks them into thinking she went out the window. Uh-huh. But she also bit Gare's hand, and so he goes into the bathroom to get ointment. Well, he says it weird. Peter Stormare, who plays Gare, he's Swedish. And so he's like kind of got his full-blown accent going. He says ointment, but he's like, I need I don't know. I can't even do it. Anyway, he goes into the bathroom. As he's putting it on in the mirror, he sees that Jean is in the shower, like behind the shower curtain. And so they get her. And meanwhile, Jerry is going to talk to Wade and his investment guy Stan about this parking lot situation. And it's not what Jerry thinks. It turns out that Wade just wants to pay Jerry a finder's fee, and it's their deal now. They're doing the investment, they're making the money. Obviously, that's not what Jerry needs. He needs a shit ton of money, and they say the finder's fee is 10%. Way less than he would make if it was just his deal, and he's pissed off about it. And
at the same time, he just wanted Wade to give him $750,000 to pay Wade nothing in return. Like, Wade wasn't going to get a percentage of what Jerry made from it.
I mean, maybe they could have fucking negotiated that. I again just think Wade's being a shithead. Did you even read his proposal? Because why are you just like, oh, I'm offering you this finder's fee, we don't know what you're talking about? And then they're like, what do you mean, we give you money? Like, do you know what investing is? And then he pays you back the amount plus interest.
But the way that Jerry says it coming off to him isn't like, he goes, no, I just want you to give me the money.
Look, I know you want to defend Wade.
Him back. I'm not trying to defend Wade. I'm telling you not to be so one-sided.
I'm not. I'm telling you that every person in this movie, with the exception of the cops, is a piece of fucking garbage.
Jean's not. The son's not.
They're barely in it. Jean, the son, and the cops are the only people in this movie that aren't garbage human beings. And I just don't... I feel like all this nonsense with the money is just a fucking annoyance. And it comes up again in a minute why I think... And maybe this is what changed my mind. But Jerry leaves... I guess he doesn't go through with it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, since you're not interested, we'll just go ahead and move in on it. And... Yeah,
I mean, I'm saying he's a piece of shit for that. But Jerry is in all... sunshine and rainbows, and point will be proven in 2 minutes. Continue.
My point will be proven in 2 minutes. So, Jerry sees the kidnapping scene. Obviously, he knew it was going to happen, and he, like, fucking plans out how he's going to call Wade and tell him. You see him, like, rehearsing. I actually read that was William H. Macy's idea to do that. I think that's a good idea. I mean, you would want to, like, rehearse it when you're faking a kidnapping.
Yeah. The fact that he's practicing how to tell the father his wife was kidnapped and the cops is disgusting.
Well.
Disgusting. No?
I mean, yeah, but how's that? Like, he was already disgusting for setting it up.
But then to be like, oh, and pretend to be sad, get out of here.
As far as he knew, I guess, everything was supposed to be okay. But then we see Carl and Gare driving with her in the backseat tied up. They get stopped by a cop because they're driving a new car. Part of the deal was that Jerry gives them however much money plus a new car off the lot. And this new car, it doesn't have plates on it yet. And so they get stopped because they have no plates.
They have dealer plates.
Yeah. So the cop is talking to Carl, and Carl's trying to kind of just get him to go away. But Carl's not doing a great job, and he asks Carl to step out of the car, and in return, Garrett grabs this cop's head, smashes it on the window, and just shoots him. Like, Garrett's a fucking animal.
Yeah.
He does not give a fuck, and as they're doing that, these two kids drive by, and so Garrett, while Carl is moving the cop's body, chases these kids down. They get run off the road. I mean, it's, a highway, middle of the night, dark as hell, and it's snowing.
The guy kid tries to run away. And Gare shoots him in the back, and then the girl is still trapped in the car, and he shoots her in the face.
Yes. So now, in this crime that was supposed to not even really be real and just supposed to be a quick and easy thing, we have 3 murders.
Yes.
And so, and one of them being a cop.
Yes. So insert the real gem of the entire movie, the baddest bitch alive, Marge.
Marge Gunderson. So we see Marge at home, and she gets the call that basically a cop's been shot and they need her to go out. And she's there with her husband, Norm. And just right immediately, you're like, oh, what a lovely couple. Like,
yeah, you can tell she's pregnant.
Yeah, she's
Norm
pregnant.
is like, I gotta make you some breakfast. She's like, oh no, it's too early. And he's like, you need eggs.
Yeah, you gotta eat. He gets up, and then they're sitting at their little tables having a little meal, and she goes out, and then she comes back and she's like, oh, the car needs jumped. And it's just, I don't know, they're just so nice and wholesome. Which is crazy, because the man that plays Norm
is the Zodiac killer.
Yeah, I've seen him in several other things where he's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought like he was gonna be a murderer somehow.
He was in The Walking Dead, actually, and he was good in that.
He was good because he got bit
Mm-hmm.
Though at the end, Morgan had to kill him, but he taught Morgan how to calm down and be good. Yeah, I cried that episode. It was a 1-episode arc, and it was just so touching.
Yeah. He's a great actor. I don't see him in our list here that we have, but you know.
Norm is a pivotal part of the movie too, though.
Yeah, well, I think he has very little screen time and lines, and that's probably why he's not listed in the cast right here. I mean, there's an extended cast list, we just didn't select it. So she gets to the scene, and she fucking immediately is like Batman about it. She's just like knows exactly.
She's the baddest bitch that side of the Mississippi.
Yeah, she's like, okay, so we have murder of the cop, and then these two drive by, and they saw what was happening, and so he chased them down, and they came off the road.
And then he's like, we have a big shoe print, big fella, and he's like, and a smaller fella following him. Like, yeah. It was insane. And then she's like, well, I'm hungry.
Yeah, it's funny. Anytime you see Marge and Norm in the same scene together, they're either eating or laying in bed.
Yes, it's so good.
So anyway, Marge is now looking into this. She's a cop there. And you see now where I think maybe my opinion really soured on him is they're talking, Jerry, Wade, and Stan, about the money that they have to deliver to Jean's kidnappers. And Wade doesn't seem to me to be actually concerned about his daughter. He's just pissed about the money from my viewpoint. And I think that if I had money like him and my daughter was kidnapped, I would literally be calling them back and being like, I will give you double to handle this shit right now.
Wade
today.
Straight wanted to call the cops. And Jerry was like, no, they specifically wanted to deal with me only. No. He wanted to call the cops the entire time. And Stan and Wade scared him out of it. So, yeah, I would be upset. And also, he's just like, no, I want to get my daughter back. I don't want to hand Jerry all of this money. But hold on. Your opinion of Jerry should be soured.
I never liked Jerry.
No, he literally says he forgot about his son when scheduling the kidnapping.
You think I like Jerry. This isn't about Jerry. Jerry sucks too. This is about Wade.
No, Jerry's plans started to go
Wade wanted to call
wild.
the cops because he didn't want to give money at all.
It doesn't matter.
That's what that was. Yes, because the cops wouldn't have...
I'm sorry, the cops should be dealing with the kidnapping.
Yeah.
Not Jerry.
They should have called the cops, but he didn't care about dealing with it the right way. He cared about not giving money.
No, it doesn't matter.
He's like, it's a lot of money. I'm Wade.
Yeah, but in Wade's defense, Jerry goes, they're telling me they want $1 million. And the original ransom was for $80,000, but he wanted the $1 million because his selfish ass wasn't donated $750,000 by Wade for him to have his conniving little business. Get out of here.
Anyway, Marge is following up with the leads on this whole murder situation. She talks with the sex workers. Was absolutely dying that one of the hookers say, yeah, I mean, the little guy was funny looking. And she was like, oh yeah? How so? And she's like, I couldn't say. He was just funny looking. And she's like, I mean, he was uncircumcised. And Marge is just like, okay.
Okay, yeah, great.
That's helpful.
Yeah, and she's like, anyway, how funny looking?
Yeah.
Just funny looking.
Yeah.
And what's funnier is later in the movie, the guy's like, this guy was funny looking. He's like, how so? And he's like, can't really say, just funny looking.
Yeah, they just keep describing him as funny looking.
Yeah, Steve Buscemi, it's so good.
So, Marge is catching up, and she's getting there. But Carl, because of all these murders, calls Jerry and is like, we are going to need more money. Which, it's like, Jesus Christ, this is... It's time.
He asked for $80,000 now.
It's time to call the whole thing off, Jerry. Whatever trouble you're in,
yeah.
You're in worse now. So it's time to tell everybody the truth. But he doesn't. He just tells Wade, oh, we need more money, and fucking convinces him about that. And then you see Marge again making headway. She ends up at the shop where Jerry works, and she's talking to Shep. And Shep is upset because he's on parole. And, you know, obviously...
She makes a comment about it. She's like, really tied up into some stuff here? I'd hate you to go back to prison and violating your parole.
Yes, Marge does a great job of keeping that Minnesota nice, like, stereotypical thing, but also, like, telling people how it is. Like, listen, your shit's about to blow up in your face. And so, after talking to Shep, she does also talk to Jerry about missing cars off the lot. And, you know, I believe she actually says that there's 3 missing cars, and he only gave 1 car to Carl and them. So I almost think that's, like, something to do with whatever's just going wrong for him.
Yeah, the money
But,
situation.
there's no written, like, story about it.
Was
like,
that, are you talking about the first time that she questioned him or the second time? Because
one of the times she brings up that there's multiple cars, but the point is she does question him this time about something, but she believes him pretty quickly.
I will say that there is a second time that she questions him and he runs away.
Yeah.
You remember that? And he was just like getting extra sweaty. That scene made me think of the Key and Peele skit where Peele is being questioned by his girlfriend about the porn on the computer, and she's just like, unless it's something like weird and wild, and the more like he just starts sweating more and more, like the more accurate that she gets, and that's exactly what Marge was doing to Jerry. It was so good.
Yeah. So Marge, there's this scene. It's the only reason I think it's worth bringing up is because I read that it was more about establishing Marge's character. She gets a call at some point from this guy Mike she used to be in high school with, and she goes to have dinner with him. I thought that was super weird to begin with.
Yeah, and I thought that it was unnecessary but hilarious.
It was unnecessary, but like I said, when I read it, they said they wanted to give Marge a character and show you who she is outside of being a cop. Like, in a lesser movie, you'd think she was going to cheat.
All I'd need was her and Norm.
Yeah. So she meets with this guy, Mike, and Mike, it ends up not being true, so don't judge me too hard when I laugh about it. Mike is saying that he was married and his wife died. None of that's true, but, like, Mike tries to go sit on the same side of the booth with her at this restaurant.
And put his face up in her face.
Yeah, and she says, no, why don't you sit over there? I prefer... And, like...
He's like, I've just been so lonely, and, like, cries.
Yeah, he starts crying, and she's like, it's okay, Mike. And she just keeps saying it. It's okay, Mike.
Yeah, she was so uncomfortable. You could tell she wanted to leave.
Yes. And so, like I said, there was just a little off scene, kind of takes away from the main story for a minute. The next thing you see is Shep busts in this door where Carl is and starts beating his ass for basically getting him involved and getting them caught. And it's an insane scene because Shep comes in there and, like, he throws a hooker. He's beating up Carl. This guy comes and knocks on the door and is like, why are you being so loud? He walks out there and beats that dude's ass.
Yeah.
His hands were rated E for everybody that night.
They were.
And
wouldn't they be for you, too, though?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to jail anyway. I mean, you might as well. So anyway, because of that ass beating, Carl is like, I'm done playing games. He calls Wade and is like, we're doing this fucking money drop off now. Like, I'm done playing games. I don't want to fuck around anymore. We're done. When he calls him, he tells him 30 minutes and we'll wrap this up. And from that moment in the film, the runtime that's left is exactly 30 minutes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So they're going to do this drop off, but Wade has decided he's not giving this money to Carl. He wants to handle it. And you see Wade driving towards the meetup point, and he's got a gun. And he gets there, he gets out of the car, and Carl's like, who the fuck are you? And Carl's, maniac as well. And he's yelling at him, they're screaming at each other, and Carl shoots Wade. And as he comes up to Wade's body to grab the money, Wade's not dead, and he shoots Carl. It, like, goes, I guess, through his cheek?
Yeah, it splits his face wide open. Anyway, Wade ends up getting shot and killed.
Yeah, he shoots him several more times.
Carl leaves. He opens the briefcase and realizes there's $1 million in there instead of $80,000. Because what Jerry was going to do was get the money from Wade, take out $920,000 and leave $80,000 in the suitcase to pay them, and then keep the rest for himself.
And Carl also killed the fucking parking attendant on the way out, like, for no reason.
They saw that he got shot, I think.
Still, I thought Gare was a maniac. Carl's just as bad. They're just killing people in this whole situation for no reason.
Yeah.
Anyone they want, they're just killing them.
Yeah.
They just are fucking horrible, but...
Yeah, Carl stops and buries the money.
Yes, he finds a little, like, fence just out in the middle of nowhere, and he plants...
And Wade does not deserve to be shot to death. I rest my case on Wade.
Wade doesn't deserve to be shot to death.
It's Carl's fault. It's Jerry's fault.
So... Once Carl buries the money, you see Marge following up with Jerry again on all this stuff, and Jerry is visibly uncomfortable. He's, like, yelling back at her.
That's the Key and Peele skit.
Yeah, he's like, listen, lady, like, I'm helping you. Like, fine, you want me to go count the cars right now? And he goes out to count the cars, but he's actually running away. And she's sitting in his office and sees him just driving away. So he goes on the run, and then just everything's falling apart for them at this point. You see Carl shows back up at the cabin where Gare is, where they were keeping Jean this whole time, and Jean's dead. She's on the floor, and
Is she dead? I didn't think Jean died. I thought he just knocked her out.
I believe she's dead because, and I could be wrong, but I wasn't sure until, well, I'll get to it in a second. I believe Jean's dead. She's on the floor. Carl comes in and says, what happened to her? And Gare says, like, she wouldn't stop screeching or something. And Carl's like, all right, well, here's the money. Here's your half. We're done. I'm taking the car. Gare's like, no, we split the car. If you want it, then you pay me for half of it. And Carl is like, fuck you, man. And he's going to leave. And Gare kills Carl in return. And again, just... not that Carl's a good person. Fuck him too. But like, Jesus Christ, they don't care about any human life.
Yeah, no, they don't. And at the same time, somebody called in a tip to the cops. That old man that's like, the guy was funny looking.
Yes.
And he's like, they were going out near the lake. And she says, I'm heading back. I'm just driving by the lake right now. Mm-hmm. And then she ends up seeing
the car that
they're looking for. And she drives up on Gare, putting Carl's body through a wood chipper.
And that almost maybe is why you could be right that Jean's not dead, because I would think, well, why is he not putting Jean's body in the wood chipper? But what made me think she was dead is once, well, you know, she shows up, Gare tries to run, and she nails him in the leg from super far away. She's a fucking super cop. And Gare's going to prison. He's in the back of the car, and Jean says to Gare, so that woman in the floor, that was Jean, and, like... I'm just like, well, why is she still on the floor? Like, if she's just knocked out, and I don't know. It could go either way, I guess. They don't elaborate any further than that, but also I didn't think about it till just now. He probably would have put her in the wood chipper.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He would have done it before. I just think that
or just done it at the same time.
But
she
all
would have
those
been
other
out there.
cops pulled up, and so maybe they got Jean.
Yeah. So after that, you see Jerry get arrested. He's in a fucking hotel room. The cops bust in there. He's screaming like a bitch, and he's going to jail. Mm-hmm. And the movie ends with just a nice little scene of Marge and Norm, like, in bed together and, you know, talking about that the baby's coming in a couple months.
They really love each other so much. One thing I do want to say is this entire movie, it was funny in a way because they were being Minnesota nice. Yeah. And they really laid into those accents the entire movie.
Well, it's good that you brought that up, because my last piece of trivia is that the trademark Minnesotan appears 179 times in the script.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the film is listed as a black comedy.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's got the drama aspect and the suspense, but it's got a lot of that deadpan comedy that's just fucking... Yeah. It was killing me. Like, this movie was funny as hell to me.
It was good. I can get to my rating. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because a lot of stuff to me, like we were talking about at the beginning, didn't make a whole lot of sense. I didn't think Mike really needed to be in the movie at all. All of that said, like, you could go 4.5 even. I really did enjoy the movie, and Marge really just... she's the golden gal of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I had never seen this movie until now, and, like, it really is just kind of perfect to me in the way that it has you on the edge of your seat the entire time, wondering how exactly things are going to play out. But also, like, I think the things that leaves to your imagination, like how Jerry got in trouble, sometimes I think that's important. I think certain movies over-explain things. I don't think it was really necessary for us to know what Jerry did. Like, yeah, it would have been cool, I guess, to know, but at the same time, like, you don't need to know. You know, he's a fucking shithead and did something bad. And so, overall, I just, I loved the movie.
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was too long either. It was only 98 minutes, and, sometimes movies will be 2 hours, and it's unnecessarily 2 hours long, so I did appreciate that about the movie, too.
Yeah.
Let's play a game. A game. Do you like my new song? I'll test out some new ones when we get... No?
That won't be the one. Okay, so Minnesota has a lot of laws that people think are weird, but most of them apparently aren't even true. So I have a little list here of laws from Minnesota, and you just tell me if you think they're true or false.
Okay.
State law limits nursing homes and senior centers to 2 days of bingo a week.
False. They'd have to allow it every day. Old people freaking love bingo.
It is false, but it was reversed in 2015. That's the only reason it's false.
Why? I bet them old people were getting too competitive with it.
I know
old
they
people
had
get mean with bingo.
They probably had underground bingo rings
They
in the nursing
definitely
homes.
did. They definitely did.
Okay, number 2. No person may be charged with or convicted of the offense of drunkenness in public.
True.
Yeah, they don't have that.
Like public end talks.
Yeah, I guess that's not a law there.
Maybe people are just so polite. They're like, all right.
Well, hell, I mean, it looked, cold. I'm assuming people aren't hanging out outside getting drunk. Number 3, Minnetonka, or Tonka, I don't know how to say it, is illegal for a truck to deposit any of the following on roadways: dirt, mud, sticky substances, litter, or other material.
Why wouldn't that be illegal everywhere? True?
It's true, but I don't know. I mean, you fucking where we are, I've seen some trucks just leaving their farm, just leaving all kinds of bullshit. All right, 4, you cannot cross state lines with a chicken or duck on your head.
False. It has to be cheese.
I don't know about that, but it's false.
Wisconsin is cheese. False.
It's just a law that apparently a lot of people think is a law there. Not people from there.
I just don't understand why you'd be wearing a chicken or a duck. That's the only reason I think it's false. It sounds wild.
A woman cannot cut her hair without her husband's permission.
False.
Correct. Yeah, can you imagine? Fucking horrible. Okay, so there has been no sequel besides the series, which isn't really a direct sequel. It makes some references to the buried money. From what I read, I've never seen the series. But what is your sequel?
Mine's going to be called, like, Fargo, or The True Stories Behind Fargo, or Fargo, Stories That Inspired It, something like that. You know what I'm talking about? Like, the stories that inspired the movie.
Yeah.
So I looked up. It's only going to be a 3-episode docuseries because there was really only 3 things that inspired it. And one of them, the Coen brothers did say that they'd never heard of it, even though there's really kind of no way. But whatever. We're just going to go with it.
Okay.
Because they're just like, we wanted to create our own. They lie. All right. So it's just going to be a 3-episode, like, Netflix docuseries based on the crimes. So the first one is T. Eugene Thompson put out a hit on his wife, and he's from Minnesota. That's where that's where the gene things come in. And I just think it's like, the cops, T. Eugene, we would have never known. He would have been like this.
He was so nice.
Yeah, he was an attorney and wanted her life insurance money. So then John McNamara defrauded General Motors of $6 billion.
Hell yeah, fuck the man.
Oh my gosh. So I can kind of tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, let me hear it, my hero.
But he had access to the financing of the GMAC, which is like the finance division. Mm-hmm. He applied for loans to buy non-GM vans that were valued at $25,000 each. And then he said they would be customized and ship them to the Mediterranean. And then with that, he used all of the money he made from embezzling and skimming to create 70 different corporations and partnerships of his own.
See, people get greedy. That's why they be getting caught.
And so just his Ponzi scheme, no vans scheme were ever purchased, customized, or sold. So he just said that he sold them, took the $25K. He used $400 million of the money he skimmed from doing this to purchase the operations, including 2 different auto dealerships, a car loan company, different real estate companies, 2 gold mines, an oil business, a newspaper company, a pharmaceutical company, a personal home, a home for his ex-wife, a trust fund for his daughter, a private jet, a limousine, all of this stuff. He ran the operation for 11 years. And so then internal auditors within GM discovered the size and scale of his loans, but didn't see anything correspondingly purchased. So then his business collapsed. So just, a little docu episode about that. Okay, and the last episode would be the one that really inspired the movie the most, which was the murder of Hella Crafts. She was murdered by her husband in the state of Connecticut, which her death led to Connecticut's first murder conviction without actually having the victim's body. And so her husband was an airline pilot and she was a flight attendant and was never seen again after her friends dropped her off from a long flight from Germany. She had made some comments to her friends because he had a very volatile temper and he was known to drink, and she was concerned that he was going to do something. And so she said, if something happens to me, don't assume it was an accident, to her friends, which kind of led them to go to the police. So they started an investigation into her disappearance, and while Richard was vacationing with his children in Florida, the state trooper searched his home and they found pieces of carpet that were taken from the master bedroom and the nanny recalled that there was a grapefruit-sized stain that had appeared in the area of the carpet, which was later found to be missing, and there was a blood smear on the side of the mattress. His credit cards also showed unusual purchases, such as a freezer around the time that she vanished that wasn't found in the house, bed sheets, a comforter, and the rental of a wood chipper, as well as a chainsaw and a truck rental. And so he had cut her up, put her through a wood chipper, and when they searched the house, the detectives to the location, they examined the water's edge and found small pieces of metal and 3 ounces of human tissue, including the crown of a tooth, a fingernail covered in pink nail polish, bone chips, and bleached blonde human hairs with an O blood type, which is the same type as her. And then they were able to tell that it was her based on the crown of the tooth. And so he ended up going to trial, and there was a trial for 54 days, and on the 17th day of jury deliberations, a single juror, the only juror in favor of an acquittal, refused to continue deliberations, and the judge actually declared a mistrial in the case. There was a second trial that ended in a guilty verdict, and he was actually sentenced to 50 years in prison. However, he was released on January 30th of 2020 and sent to a halfway house because of quote-unquote statutory good time for a shortened sentence for good behavior and jailhouse jobs. So he's out on the loose as of August 1st, 2020.
Well,
but that was the wood chipper scene of it, which was a very small part, but that's my sequel idea. It's not really a sequel, but there's already the TV show.
Yeah,
there's already this. I think I'm a documentary gal, so...
No, I think that would be good. We don't typically talk about murder, so I guess I'll take a moment to say rest in peace to the woman. And, you know, if that guy did it, I mean, you know, I don't know all the details, so I'm not trying to defend him, but, you know, burn in hell, that kind of thing.
Anyways, so that's the sequel idea. Sorry to end it on such a sad little note there.
That's okay. I will end it on a sad note.
Oh, no.
I have a movie that is inspired by a different movie that I found while doing my research called Kumiko the Treasure Hunter. That film is about a woman. She sees the movie Fargo and believes the treasure is real and goes looking for it. And that's that movie. I didn't read too much past that because I just, you know, I didn't want to try and make a copy of it. I'm assuming I didn't because of the way I go with it. Anyway, my movie's called Fargo, A True Story. I listed some actors as who would play these people so that you could try and envision it if it helps. And I tried to pick people I thought could do the same kind of comedy, but also be serious. Okay, so I have 2 new characters, Noah and Emma, played by Bill Hader and Emily Blunt.
Rose Byrne would be good too, I bet.
Maybe so. Noah and Emma are siblings with not such great lives. From their horrible jobs, dead love lives, and cruel family, they find comfort in distracting themselves with movies. After a string of particularly bad events, such as losing their jobs for watching movies on the clock, their family needing financial help, and a car accident, the siblings find themselves in need of money and happen to be watching the film Fargo. Noah and Emma decide they are going to kidnap the child of a wealthy family a few towns over. After several failed attempts to even find the boy alone, they take him at gunpoint in broad daylight and flee. While fleeing, they run over a pedestrian and panic. Noah and Emma dump the boy and leave Canada. Unsure what to do, they remember the buried money from the film Fargo. Noah and Emma believe maybe they can find the money and start a new life. The siblings travel to Fargo and begin trying to find leads on the location without giving away their plan so as to not give anyone else the opportunity to take the money. Ducking cops and being cryptic causes them a lot of trouble in finding the treasure until they run into an older man played by James McAvoy, claiming to know where the treasure is and promising to lead them to it if they can dig it up. Upon reaching the location, the man reveals he's not that old and pulls a gun on Noah and Emma. The old man's name is Steve, and he used to be a cop in Fargo until he was fired for obsessing over the hidden money, and his superiors told him he was crazy and the movie wasn't real. But Steve claims it was all a cover-up for the money, as after the events unfolded, the police chief at the time took the money and wanted it hidden. Noah and Emma are pleading for their life and claiming they don't know anything and they can just go home, but Steve brings them to Steve brings them to a cabin nearby. In the cabin is an older Gare who is revealed to have been broken out of prison, and he is the father to Steve. Gare chastises Steve for bringing the siblings to the cabin and says, "We'll never find the money. It's been 30 years and it's time to give up." The two are in a heated argument, giving Noah and Emma a chance to try and sneak away. They sprint out the door and Steve and Gare chase after them. The high-speed on-foot chase comes to a stop when they find themselves on the frozen lake and the floor beneath them begins to crack. The four stop and Noah and Emma believe it's a standoff as Steve hasn't fired his gun. Gare insults his son and grabs the gun, shooting both Noah and Emma before Steve can stop them. The thud from their bodies cracks the ice and all four bodies go into the water. As the water and ice calm, the credits roll.
Oh my gosh. It's good though.
Nobody was good in that movie.
Nobody was good. That's so good.
But, you know, I believe where I went different is that the movie I said it was inspired by, the movie is fake. In this, the movie is actually real, just nobody knows it except, I guess, for the people there. And so it's like a hidden secret.
Yeah, I like it. It was good.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Twitter. We are NansPod everywhere. If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls or let us know your idea across our socials with a comment, tweet, or you can reach us at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you're listening. And if you wouldn't mind, share our show with someone, leave us a review, and come back for more. We'd love to have you and hear what we can do to improve. Next week, we're watching A Night at the Roxbury. I've never seen it.
I've never seen that either. I was going to say, if somebody leaves some reviews, maybe we'll read them live.
Yeah, that depends. If we... Let's...
Don't hurt our feelings, though, please.
I'll read those live, and I'll find your mother and tell her what you said.
No, Daddy, no!
Yeah, I never seen Night at the Roxbury. It's got Will Ferrell and Corky Romano.
Corky Romano.
The fact is I've been told by a friend that he doesn't like the movie because he feels Will Ferrell got way more famous from it. Meanwhile, Corky Romano, whose name I don't even know because he didn't get as famous, suffered, I guess. But
I've never seen the movie either, so we'll see.
All right, well, take care of yourselves. We will see you next week. And remember, I'm not going to debate you, Jerry.